Well, hello everyone. Today is Friday, April 16th, 2021, and this is episode number 9 of my Flosstube. So I have a lot to share with you today. Last week was normally my day to film Flosstube, but I could not because of major, designing and sewing deadlines getting ready for spring quilt market. So I kind of have a lot to show you, and I hope you have all been well and been stitching to your heart's content. I've got a little bit of stitching in, not as much as I usually do, but I do have plenty to show you. So let me grab my notes and let's see. And let's get started. I always have to take notes because I don't want to forget anything. Okay, so let me move this over a little bit. The first thing I have to show you is I have a fully finish. And let me see, let me move that out of the way so that this can be centered. Okay, how's that? Can you see that, sis? Mm-hmm. All right, so this is Friendship Sampler. And I showed you this last month in my Flosstube. And it's something that Christy and I were doing together. I had found this sampler pattern right here. And it's by Moira Blackburn, and it's called the Friendship Sampler. And when Christy came over a couple months ago, we decided to start it together. And so we rated my fabric, and we ended up, let's see, I think this is Tyco. Yeah, that's right. This is 36 count Tyco Edinburgh linen by Picture This Plus. And I just grabbed a bunch of DMCs out of my stash and started throwing them around of what I wanted and did a floss toss. And of course I went with 347 and red for the flowers. So I totally did a complete different color conversion. And I just picked it up from the craft center and Jamie framed it for me, and I just love how it turned out. Let me bring it a little closer to the camera so you can see close up. And so what I'm going to do is, I had talked about my color conversions before, and a lot of you have said, I don't know how to take a screenshot, or I can't, read that one number or something. So I thought, you know what, to solve all this, I'll probably just do show notes from now on of my finished projects when I'm finished stitching them, so that I know for sure that that's the color conversion that I used. I'm going to do some show notes and put it on my blog. So tonight, when I'm waiting for this to upload, I'll take a picture of this and I'll write down my color conversions and put it on my blog. And then you can, easier write them down. And so that is my fully finished that I'm pretty happy about. I'm not sure where I'm going to hang it yet. I think it'd look really pretty in my bedroom, so it may go there. All right, so that's my first fully finish. But I do have a couple of finishes that aren't fully finished, but they're finished. So, all right, that's kind of big. Can you see that whole thing, sis? Mm-hmm. A little bit lower. Okay. So this is the Milk and Cream Company, and I'm excited to get this finished. Let me get my library card out so I can read all the info on that. Here's my flosses. And here's the chart by Plum Street Sampler, the Milk and Cream Company. And I started this in January for one of my brother's birthdays. And I didn't get a chance, because of all the other secret sewing I was doing, to finish this yet, but I'm going to put it into a pillow and put it on the bench in my kitchen. And I have a bench with a lot of pillows on there that's in my, like in my bay window seat area, and I think this will be really cute there. So what I've stitched this on is my 25 count Lugana vintage cloth in Farmhouse. And I love it because it has kind of a pinky tone to it, and I love how it looks with all of these flosses. And I did stitch 2 over 2. I had showed you the threads, or shown you the threads last time, and this is one of the one that's kind of written in pencil, and they're kind of, close together, small words. And so I'm going to go ahead And after I film, take a picture of this as well, and I'll put it on the show notes on my blog post and write and type these out, you know, clearly so that you can see my color conversion for that. But isn't that cute? That's going to be a really cute pillow. I don't know. I thought about putting patchwork around it. I might just pick one of my granny chic florals to put around it because that's kind of the same colors as this. So we'll see. But next Flosstube, I'll have this finished and then I'll show you what I ended up doing with it. All right, so that's one of my finishes. Okay, so another finish that I did was a bushel and a peck. Now I had started this last month for the start for my granddaughter, Sophie Bell. And I love this. This is really a fun stitch. I started it and pretty much finished it right away. So this is by Not Forgotten Farm. And y'all know how much I love Lori's patterns at Not Forgotten Farm. And she has an awesome floss tube. So if you haven't checked her out yet, you need to. And she has a couple of new patterns that I really, really love. And I think she's working on some more. So I'm sure she is. She always is. So, but anyway, I just grabbed some floss from my stash. Let me see. This is on 36 count beach brew. And it was just a scrap that I had around. I like to save my leftovers for smaller projects. I didn't even take the time. Look at all these raggedy edges. Didn't even take the time to zigzag or serge the edges because I literally started stitching it and, you know, worked on it for quite a while. So here's the threads. I decided to use over dyes because I kind of wanted it, you know, older looking. And not that the DMC doesn't give you that look, but I don't know. I had a bunch of over dyes on hand, and as you know, if you saw my drawers, I do have a few over dyes on hand, right? And so I used Weeks and Gentle Arts in my own color conversion, and so I'm going to do the same thing with this. Is I'll show you my color conversion on my blog. I'll take a photo of it and let you know. One thing I loved about this too is I remember that when I was making the notes on the back here, that I had written, if I do this on 36 count, then it's going to fit in a 5x7 frame perfectly. And so here's a 5x7 frame that I had. I picked this up, I think at Hobby Lobby quite a while ago, but I picked it up because I love the finish. See how it's kind of rough, and I loved it was just a neutral color. And I think it fits perfectly inside there. I was thinking I wanted a red frame for it though, so I might take some of my Farm Girl paint in red and paint it and distress it. It looks good with this frame, but I kind of want it to pop a little bit. I don't know. I was just thinking I wanted red to go with the little hearts in the basket and the cute little heart that the chick is carrying under his wing. I just love that. So if you haven't stitched this yet, then maybe you want to do it on 36 count as well, so you can put it in a 5x7 frame. So again, I'll talk about that on my blog in the show notes. And I wanted to show you this cute bag. I don't know if I've used this before to show you, but this is a bag that I got on Etsy from Speckled Red. And it's a crochet bag, but you know, I had to get it because it's got bees on it. Look how cute that is. So that's what I had that project in. All right, so those are my, oh no, I have one more finish. I almost forgot. I just barely finished this the other night. So here is my Prim bag that Christy sewed for me, Christy Crosshatch Quilts, and I was able to finish my Prim sew along. I was a few weeks late from, you know, everyone else finishing, and when I say everyone else, I'm talking about, you know, Kimberly hosted the sew along on the Fat Quarter Shop Flosstube channel. And I think we finished up with that a couple of weeks ago. I don't know, maybe I was only a week late. But I stitched this. Let me grab my library card. Here's my chart. So this matches my quilt, my Prim and Proper quilt. And so let me grab out all of the stuff so I can tell you. All right, so this is Beach Brew. Need to bring it down a little bit? Okay. So this is Beach Brew 36 count. And the sample was done on Prim Lugana. And I love doing the stitch along, you know, when I'm stitching my own, the one for myself, on something completely different so you guys can see the difference. Now, I used the DMC called for on the chart, except for this green right here. I used a shade darker green. Let me see what color that green is, so I can tell you. Because the lighter leaves did not show up on this fabric. So this is 471 DMC for the leaves. And I can't remember what I called for. I called for 772 for the lighter green. And, you know, I'm sure for those of you who have stitched a while, you can see that sometimes you have to change a color or two depending on the fabric that you've chosen. And, you know, just for things to show up. I just feel like if I'm going to stitch something, I want it to show up. So that's the green that I did there. And I'm super happy to have that done. I'm going to take it to the framers. I don't think this, wait, I don't even think I took the time. But I put this measuring tape there. I don't think I took the time to measure that to see if it fit in a standard. So that's 7 1/4 by 6. So yeah, I don't think it's going to fit in a standard frame. But I have a few other things that I want to take to Jamie to frame. And I want a really old looking frame on this, I think. And I think that's super fun. I love that it matches my Prim fabrics, which is, these are my Prim fabrics here in the bag. So see how it matches. That's super fun. Thanks again, Christy, for the bag as always. She's my stitchy partner in crime. Okay, let me put the card back there. All right, okay, so next thing I'm going to show you stitch along progress. I still am doing a few stitch alongs, and speaking of Christy, this is one that I've been doing with her, and I think she's almost finished. She's really been a trooper and been stitching on this a lot. I have a little bit more progress from last month, and this is Ann Morrison. And this is the Traditional Stitches exclusive designed by Nicola of Hands Across the Sea for their 20th anniversary. And I just love it. I love it. I really need to get this finished so that I can take it to Jamie to get framed at the same time as I'm doing, you know, taking the Prim and Proper. So on these colors, I did change a few according to my fabric. Here's my colors right here. I ended up, I'm just using the DMC. Christy's using the silks. And I love all these colors. I ended up, I could not find a DMC that I liked in the aqua with this that would show up well. And so Mint Julep Classic Color Works is one of my favorites. So I threw that in. So otherwise, all DMC. And when I finish stitching Anne up, when she's fully stitched, and I'll hurry and take a picture so that next month when she's finished, boy, I'm really making a commitment, right? Okay, next month she's going to be finished. Next month when she's finished, I'll be able to show you on my show notes on my blog all my color conversions and changes if you're interested in that. So that's Anne. And once again, I just love the Hands Across the Sea charts. One of the things that I love about her charts is in the centerfold, she always puts a larger picture of the charts. But I love how she details, you know, the stories, you know, behind the samplers and just everything. Love it so much. Okay, I've made that commitment. I better get going on that. And then the next one I wanted to show you is my progress on my stitch along. And so this is the Cross Stitch Nation Sal. I belong to the Cross Stitch Nation. This is by Beth Twist. And I was able, I can't remember how many, I think I only had one of these cute stitchers finished. before, so I was able to add 3 more. My goal was to do 1 a week, and I skipped a week last week. I just could not get to it. But here's the chart for that. Love this chart so much. And let's see, I am stitching this on 35 count linen, the colored linen by Weeks Dye Works. And again, this is hashtag Cross Stitch Nation. Sal, I have loved seeing all of your finishes and your progress on my Instagram feed. And let's see, I only have 3 more stitchers in this bottom border to do. So I'm going to add those. And I did share my colors. Let's see. Got this kind of a mess because I haven't worked on this for a while. I did share my colors on Instagram. And so when I finish, oh, there's a loose thread. When I finish stitching this one, I'll also put that on my show notes. So, but so far I think I only have 3 this month to put on my show notes, and I'll do that blog post like tonight. So, and then I'll link to it so that you can go right to my blog to that link for those 3 for today. And so I'll try to do that tonight. Usually it takes a long time to upload my videos, so I should be able to get a blog post done during that time. But if it's not quite there when you know, by the time you're watching this, if it's not quite there, if the link isn't working correctly, it will be shortly, just so you know. All right, so that is, let's see, that's my stitch along progresses, but I do want to tell you about a new stitch along that's going to be happening in June with one of my new charts. Okay, so Denise from Goose Design sent me this bag. This is made with my flea market fabric. Thanks, Denise. I love it. I always love her bags. Okay, so here is my new chart. That's what the inside, this is all my flea market, what I call cheater cloth in there. Here's my new chart. Is that, should I take it out, Cass?
Oh, that's good.
Okay. So this is Flea Market Flowers. This is another chart that I designed to match my sew along quilt that we just finished with the sew along. Now, Kimberly is going to be starting a sale with this one in June, and she's trying to give everybody enough time to get their charts and get going, and you know, for it to fit in their stitch along schedule. I know I keep saying sew along because it says Flea Market Flowers, but you know what I mean. Stitch along, quilt along, sew along, whatever. And I'm going to be using the DMC, the called for thread. So this is the thread pack. And that's what I've called for because this chart has so many colors in it that, you know, I just went through and picked a whole bunch of DMC that went well with my fabric. You can see that it goes pretty well with it. And then this is also a new thing that I'm excited about. I'm starting to design some floss keepers for some of my different charts when we have a sew along, a stitch along. And so this one's called the Flea Market Flowers Floss Keeper. So that's what I'll be doing to prepare my flosses to go into here. Okay, now speaking of that, where did I put that? That reminds me, I did want to show you something that I received some very sweet, nice, happy mail from Lori from Thread Milk. Okay, so Lori has a brand new Flosstube. She lives here in Utah. I have not met her before, but she so very kindly sent these over to me through our friend Paula. And so what she is doing is her company's called Thread Milk. And look at this cute little thing she's done. Now these are milk caps that she's punched. And this is a 9-inch ruler so that you can wrap your DMC floss or your overdyed flosses around, and then you can wrap it all the way around and then cut it on the end, and then they're perfect length to put in here. So I'm sure I'll be putting this to good use when I'm preparing these to put on here, but I so love these. Lori, thank you so much. And her Flosstube, her #1 Flosstube was amazing. So you need to go over there and get to know her a little bit, where she introduces herself, talks about, you know, her start in stitching and, you know, her love affair with all of that. But I especially love these because I love all things vintage, as you know. And because I'm a paper crafter, I've been using milk caps a lot. And I have also used them to hold my floss, as well as punching tags. You know, any of that vintage ephemera I use, you know, for floss keepers over the years and things like that. But I think that her idea to put them together in a set is ingenious. And I've always had to ask my husband to punch these because they're quite thick. And I love the fact that I can just go to her website now and buy them, and they're just so beautifully done, professionally punched. They look great. Thanks so much for that. So I'm excited to use that, and thanks again, Lori. And so while I'm talking about new things, this is probably the good time. Let me pull these back in and show you a few things that I've got. So these are my bitty boards. I know I've showed these before. I just put them on here because I wanted to talk about needle minders a little bit. But this is what I use all the time for each project. Now I have 6 of them out so far. 2 are coming. I've got 4 more coming throughout the year in the works, but here's 4 of them. And I have found that I use them in quilting as well, but I really use them for stitching because I like to keep, this is my Daisy needle minder, but I call it a scissor minder. The reason I did it this large is because I want it for my scissors. I want to be able to just put my scissors on there and, you know, they're not going to fall off. I can put them in my bag, or, you know, if this gets bumped or something like that. And then I work with a needle minder. This is my Prim sheep needle minder that I've done through Fat Quarter Shop. This one, the scissor minders, I've done through Riley Blake. And I like to keep my needles here, my scissors here. And these are the needles. I've shown you these before on other floss tubes. These are my tapestry needles that come in the yellow tube in many, many sizes in the tube, so you can find whatever you want. But those are the needles that I use, and I love and use those exclusively. Now, this is my Mind Your Own Beeswax thread conditioner, or in other words, it's just 100% natural beeswax. Now, I've always used beeswax for my threads, and I love that it's 100% natural. It's not going to damage anything. I don't super coat my thread with wax. Let me show you what it looks like. It comes in this little tin. I don't know if I turn that. Can you see my bee?
Mm-hmm. Here, hold up here.
I don't know if you can but it's like my little embossed bee in a little honeycomb shape. And so it comes in this little tin, and super excited about it. But my thread, I usually just take it and run my thread after I've threaded in the needle through the last 6 or 8 inches of my thread, because that's the tail end of the thread that always starts to shred or gets knotted up. And so because it's going in and out, in and out, in and out. And so if I put just a nice thin coat on that, that really strengthens the thread, stops it from tangling as much, and it just, you know, it's just as a nice thin coating. Another thing that's fun about this tin is, look at these. You can put your needle minder on there too, and then, you know, stack your needles on that. And so that's kind of fun. You can even put another magnet behind here to keep your conditioner from sliding off, because that's, here, let me take these off. Well, I guess I don't need to take them off because they stick. That's the point. But see, I've got the magnets on the other side. So that's how I keep them on there. So there's that. Here's my, so that's what I typically do. I have like my large, always have my large one in a corner, and then I'll pick one or the other. These are my other needle minders that I do through Fat Quarter Shop. This is the Soday, and this is my Prim Star, and this is my Prim Sheep. So I always have a large one in one corner for my scissors, and then you can put your needles on here if you want, but I just throw another one on there And I love working with these because I, roll up my little leftover threads and put right here, and they're all rolled up, and I have my little orts over here so they're not on the floor, and they stick and they don't fall off. Very handy. So what I've used for quilting in years, I just transferred over to cross stitch. But another thing I always have is some kind of a tape measure on here. But I wanted to show you this. Super excited about this. Now, this doesn't come out for a few months, like the end of the summer, but this is my magnetic needle minder or scissor minder. Same thing. I designed another one that's just as big as this daisy to hold my scissors, and this matches my stitch collection. Thanks, Cass. I should take it out of the package so it doesn't. I'll take it out of the package and throw it on one of these bitty boards. So it just comes like this. This matches my stitch collection. I designed this at the same time as that. My stitch fabric collection comes out in July. This comes out in September. It comes with I'll save those for bookmarks. So look how cute that's going to be. Look at that tomato. Okay, Cass, I'll let you put that up there. And then I can just throw another one here. Look at the little smaller tomato over here. And that I can put my needles on. That I can hold my scissors on. That's going to be fun. Can't wait. All right. That's enough jabber about notions, but I hope it's okay. I kind of show you those. Oh, I do have one more. Cassidy kind of, slid this in like, don't forget about this, Mom. Okay. This has been a long time coming. This is the top view. This is the end view. I don't know if anybody can guess what this is. I haven't put my paper in here yet. But this is my stitch cards box. Okay, I'm so excited. Okay, so I've been working on this for quite a while, trying to get it exactly how I wanted it. And I work with Fat Quarter Shop, and they are producing these for me, and I just love working with them, and it's so fun going back and forth and deciding, what we want to do. So this was my first color choice that I wanted to do, and Kimberly's like, we need to do more colors, and so 3 is coming out. We're doing a red, and we're doing, this is my sea glass, and then we're doing a denim. Now on Monday, Monday, Tuesday, first of the week, they will be on the coming soon page at Fat Quarter Shop. But I wanted to show these to you now because by the time I do my next Flosstube, which is next month, they will have already been on the page. And I just kind of wanted to announce them, show them. And so right here, you would put whatever you want labeled. They do come with a label. I just didn't put it in there because you don't have to just use them for stitch cards. But I want to open this and show you what's inside. Okay, so you can see that I've already put my stitch cards in here. But so they go all the way 2 alphabets deep, and then there's some blank ones at the end. And wait, maybe I just put 2 in here. Better not hold me to that. I think I've put 2 in here. I can't remember how many's in here, but I know that we have 1 full alphabet and then some blank ones for sure. And but it will explain that on the coming soon page. But if you don't know what my stitch cards are, this is set A. And, there's always just 4 different designs. And so I've been doing them quarterly for quite a while now. So they come out every quarter, and then I just letter them. Let me show you my latest ones. Let me move it this way. But I'm pretty excited about these drawers because I'm going to stack them on top of each other, next to each other, and put all kinds of notions in here. I'm going to keep my, I can keep floss in here, another place to keep my my vintage cloth, different linens, things like that. Here's my latest set. This is set H. So we've got, these are blocks that are in my Farm Girl Vintage 2 book, and this one's a block that's in my Farm Girl Vintage 1. This is Woolly Sheep, this is Milk Cow, this is Happy Horse, and this is Penny Pig. And so now I can just go in and file them in here. And again, they do fit the stitch cards. but any kind of storage, that's going to be fun. Okay, now that's enough about notions. All right, so now I want to show you the stitching progress that I've had on a few of my stitches that I have been showing you. This again is the bag that my friend Annette made for me out of my flea market fabric. And look, the 1/1, the 1/over stitching sisters that she did. So this is the progress I have on Cherry Hill, Summer at Cherry Hill. Let me grab the chart. Now I started this in February for my sister Carolyn's birthday start, and I was really, I'd had this kitted up and ready to go for quite a while, but I was really inspired when I was watching Lisa from Lisa Abbey Needleworks, her Flosstube. I love watching her Flosstube. She's a vintage gal like me, and she really likes to finish things vintaging. She's a gardener like I am. I just feel like we have a lot in common, and it would be fun if we lived right next door to each other and we could just, you know, like garden and stitch and all that stuff. And she quilts as well. So I was inspired by her when she was showing hers. She's finished hers by now. And I'm like, every time she showed that, I was like, I've got to pull that out. I got to pull that out. So I finally did. I'm stitching this on 36 count latte by XU Designs. And I am using mostly the called for with a few color changes. And once again, once I finish stitching this, this is the chart. Don't want to forget to show you that. And so once I finish stitching this, then I'll let you know in my show notes about the color changes. Let me try to straighten these and make them look beautiful like Nicole does. You know, everybody mentions that with Nicole because nobody can do it like her. I'm going to give it my best shot though. Look how pretty. Look how pretty all those colors are. And I'm excited to get back to this too. This just says summer to me. So I'd really like to get that finished up. Okay, let me look on my notes here and see what's next. I have got big stacks here. Okay, you know what? I'm probably going to have to take a break and, oh, well, I probably have time to show you this stuff first. And then I'll take a break and show you new starts. Okay, so this is my progress that I've made. I know I keep saying, oh my heck, I love everything and I got to get back to it, but I really do. And I'm really going to. Okay, let me get my information out. Again, do my little setup. Like Nicole does. I don't know how she does it. I think she stitches everything so fast she doesn't have time to mess up her threads. Is that what it is? Let me know, Nicole, if that's what it is. All right. This is Land That I Love by Teresa Kogut. And last time, I think I had just this area. Well, I had this half borders. I had this area finished, and I needed to finish this alphabet and come on over here. So that's what I did. And I'm stitching this on 36 count platinum by Weeks Dye Works. I'm stitching it 1/2 like I always do on 36 count. Whenever I say I'm stitching on 36 count, that means I'm always stitching 1/2. And that's why I love to stitch on 36 count the most. I either do 36 count or 40 count when I'm using one thread, and I really, really love to use one thread. So again, I'll say it again, 36 count is my sweet spot. Now the next thing I'm going to do up here is this eagle in the berry basket, and then I'll just do the center section and I'll just keep moving down. But this is a big stitch. I really want to get it done for July. We'll see if that happens. I always have big dreams and big plans, but we'll see what really ends up happening. But I will stitch on this month. All right. Okay, I've got one more, and then I'll take a break and clear all this out. Okay, here's another favorite that I keep showing you. I know what it is because I always put it in my sheep bag because this is a Savior's Praise, and you know, he's our shepherd, and so I put it in my sheep bag. so that I can remember that's what's in there. Okay, so this is by Kitten Stitcher. Shakespeare's Peddler is her pattern company. All right, can you see all of that? It says, I know it's kind of big, but I wanted to show you my progress on this. I want to pull out the chart. There's my threads. I'm stitching this on 36 count Beach Brew. And I'm stitching this with all of the colors that Teresa called for, which are Anchor floss. And I've had people ask me if I like stitching with Anchor, and yes, I do. And she's called for a few Weeks Dye Works as well, and I'm using them. But I switched two things. Two colors is all on this. I am using, oh no, she called for that. Let's see, I got my cute little chicken bag. Okay, so I'm using 3831 DMC as a red substitution. And then there was a really light green that wouldn't show up on my fabric. And so I decided to switch it out for a blue-green, a teal green, 320 DMC. So that's what you see in here. Now this is the one that I'm doing to represent my great-grandmother, Martha, who was a quilter, and she had 6 daughters. My grandmother, Millie, is one of them, and she taught all of her daughters to quilt, and that's where I learned to quilt, is from my grandma and her sisters, who were my great aunts. I never got to meet great-grandma Martha, but this is her right here. I've stitched her right there, and I've put all of my great aunt's initials. This is my grandma. I put all their married initials in here. So this is Mildred Crane. This is Isabel Bills. This is for my aunt Marge Torkelson. This is for my aunt Edith Newman. This is for my aunt Jessie Bills, and for my aunt Hazel Sorensen. And so I was able to work on that this month, and that's how far I've got. Okay, I gotta find the cover to this because I really want to show it to you. Okay, here it is. So now I'm going to start with these numbers here and move on down, or I may start, with the borders closer down. Now, I'm going to put my great-grandmother, Martha Butterfield's name here, and I'm going to put Harriman for the town, because that's where they all grew up. That's where I grew up. And that's where I lived next door to all of them while I was growing up, and learned to quilt and sit around the quilting frames, first under the quilting frames and then around the quilting frames. Now down here, because there's 6 deer, I don't know, I've been toying with this idea. I love this flower in the middle. It kind of represents great-grandma Martha, but I might, instead of these deer, even though I love them, I may put a quilt block to represent my grandma and her sisters, because the number is just perfect for, for this. So I'm thinking about that quite seriously. All right. That's that one that I'll definitely be working on this month. It's one that's close to my heart and just means a lot to me. And so I'll be stitching on that one for sure. All right, I'm gonna clear this stuff out, bring my next new starts in, and we'll talk about that in a second, so hang on. Okay, I'm back, and I realized as I was putting my stuff away, I forgot to tell you something about my flea market flowers sew along. Even though it starts in June when Kimberly's doing it, I might get a little bit of a head start, because I don't know if I can wait to start it. I don't know, I just want to take section by section and just start making flowers. Flowers are one of my favorite things to stitch. But another reason that I really want to start it is because I follow Nicola from Bumble Stitches, and I love watching her Flosstube as well. And right now she's doing a Pocket Full of Posies Sal. And so I thought it would be so fun. I mean, look at all these posies. So I may be starting that because I really want to participate in her Sal, because I think that's such a great idea. So I need to pick out my linen. I'm sure, well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but pretty sure it's going to be 36 count or 40. And so that means I'll just be using one strand of these DMCs. So I did want to tell you that, even though I haven't chosen my linen yet, I wanted to let you know that I was going to be doing a higher count so that it would turn out smaller. I love the way this looks on my wheat 25 count Lugana. And so I'll probably pick a linen that's pretty similar to that color in a higher count. And then, you know, I'll put on Instagram my progress, and because I'm sure I'll be stitching on it before next month's Flosstube. And so I'll show you what linen that I chose. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick before I moved on to my new starts. And so my first new start was for Easter. Remember this bag that I'm always picking threads off of everything. I mean, you know, this is a sewing room and I'm constantly either quilting or stitching, so I've got threads everywhere. This is my cute chicken bag, my rooster that my friend Annette made for me using this quilt block from my quilt book. She also did these cute little baby chicks that are from my Farm Girl vintage quilt book as well. And she did, of course, cross stitch blocks because this is for a cross stitch bag. But isn't that adorable? Okay, so here is my start for Easter. Now, I knew this was going to be my Easter start as soon as I saw it. And it is Come to the Garden by Teresa Kogut. And when she announced it on her Flosstube and she showed it, I got so excited because I am a true gardener through and through. And I love, love, love gardening. Anything about the garden. And this one, I'm trying to set up my floss colors here so they look pretty. I don't know why I'm trying. I'm just, again, I'm never going to be perfect at that. But here we go. Here's the colors. Okay, can you see that, sis? Mm-hmm. All right, so this is what I got started on. I need to show you this chart. You know I love Teresa's designs. I've said that before. We have so many wonderful designers. How can we just stitch all the things? I'm going to say it again. I'm on my 400-year plan. I'm going to live to be 400 so I can stitch everything I want. But just look at this. Like, what is not to love about this? Look at the flowers, and of course, there's a gardening angel there. And this, to me, this looks like the herb garden, you know, that you set up. And look at this moth, butterfly, just everything. And it says, come to the garden, thy senses shall be overjoyed, which I totally agree with. But I know I'm going to love stitching every bit of this. I mean, look at the border. Look at that. That's just so gorgeous. And so I got a good start on that on Easter. And I stitched on it for a couple of days, and then I had to put it away, which made me kind of sad. But I always get sad every time I have to put my stitching away and move on to another one. And then I open the bag and I get happy again. So this one is 36 count Milk and Honey by Fiber on a Whim. And isn't that pretty? Love it. And I'm pretty much stitching so far with the called for colors. So if I change that up, I'll let you know. But love it. Love it, love it. Thanks, Teresa, for another new inspiring design. All right, let me put all this back in its proper bag. All right, so still want to hand that off. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, Christy was able to come again because she had an appointment out here, and so she was able to come, and her family came with her, and it was just so fun to see her and her cute, adorable daughter, Haley, who I've known for a long time, and she's just the sweetest. She's just the cutest, sweetest, and I shouldn't call her a little girl anymore because she's not really a little girl. She's growing up, but she's just so cute, and she's pretty on the outside, and she's pretty on the inside. And then, of course, she brought Gus, too, so he got to hang out for a couple of days. Now, Christy made me this bag out of the Jane Austen fabric. And this is a project that her and I have been wanting to stitch for a long time. I've had it ready to go, kitted up for a long time, ever since Nicola from Hands Across the Sea re-released it, and I just hadn't started it yet. And I was telling Christy that I wanted to start it in May, and she said, oh, I'm going to start it with you. I'm going to, you know, grab the silks. And I'm like, okay, get ready. And then when we found out that she was coming out, I said, maybe we should just do a special start day for us. And so the couple of days that she was here, I was able to stitch on it once. We went shopping one day, and then we started it together. And that was so fun that we were able to start it together. Here's the chart. And look at that border. Just look at everything. And again, I'm going to... Here's that famous Hands Across the Sea centerfold. Isn't she gorgeous? And I just love it. This is going to be so fun. And I don't know how long it's going to take me. I don't know how often I'm going to be able to stitch on her, but I'm going to give her my best. And so I'm stitching on 36 count straw flower by Lakeside Linens, and I am using all the silks as well. Now, when I use silks, I like to put them together in a separate bag. I don't like to put them on, individual bags, just because, I don't know, for me, that takes too much time to take out the colors. But look at those. Aren't they gorgeous? And so that's what I'm using. And that's what we're stitching. And I'm pretty excited about it. Now, if you guys are a sampler stitcher, if you like to stitch reproduction samplers, or maybe if you've never have before, but you think that this is right up your alley, I'd love for you to stitch along with us. This is Ann Uffendale. And so let's just do an Ann Uffendale Sal hashtag. And I would love for you to hashtag any progress that you do so I can see it on Instagram, because this is a good one. It's going to be fun. All right. Thanks for this bag, Christy. I love the Jane Austen fabrics. Look at the inside. Okay, so the Jane Austen fabrics are produced by Riley Blake Designs, who I design fabric for. And I've shown you a quilt that I'm doing with the Jane Austen fabrics too on my on this same channel here, but on my quilting episodes. But love that. All right, one more to hand off. I better look at my notes because I'm afraid I'm going to skip something. Okay, so the next thing that I started was something, oh my gosh, I've had this kitted for quite a while, and then I couldn't find it anywhere. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Okay, so this one lives in my flea market bag that Christy made for me out of my flea market fabric. And this is from Agnes Platt Strawberry Sampler book, but this is called the Bee Skip. And so this is what I'm stitching. And see, this is the start that I have on it, and I love it. I love that this is this Beehive of Satin Stitches. And so it's in, I don't know if it has a separate picture in the book. Let me fold this back. So I just started on the text. I didn't even start on the border yet. I got in and started right away because, of course, you know, I want to get to this house, right? Look at that red brick house. It looks like a little garden shed to me instead of a house. And it says, the bee, his labor is a chant, his idleness a tune. And so this frame I had picked up at a thrift shop quite a while ago, thinking, oh, that's a 5x7 frame. I really didn't measure it for a while, but I brought it home and I painted it and put dark wax on it. I used my my red paint from my my Farm Girl paint, Chalky Chicks. It's called Cherry Pie. And I put dark wax on it, distressed it, thinking, oh, this is 5x7, thinking maybe I would use it for my bushel and a peck. Now, then I realized that it was bigger than that. It's like 5.5 by 7.5, so I set it aside for another project. Then when I was measuring this, when I got it back out, when I finally found it, and then I had to buy another chart because I thought I lost it. And so the day about, well, actually the day before or 2 days before the other chart came, then I found my chart, of course. I'll tell you where it was in a second. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so this on 36 count, this ends up being like exactly 5 by 7. And I thought, dang, it's not going to fit in this frame, which is then why when I measured it and realized it's actually 5.5 by 7.5 opening. So that's perfect. So this is the frame. And I love that they have a red frame. And so it's going to be perfect in there. It was just kind of like meant to be. So the reason I lost my chart and, you know, my kit and everything like that is because I had it set aside with my bee wall stuff, and I had it in a different drawer in my file cabinet and hadn't put them in a bag. So I remedied that, and I'll show you that in a minute. But first I wanted to let you know that I'm stitching this on 36 count toasted almond by Fabrics by Stephanie. And I am using all of the called for, except for 2 exceptions. I'm using aged pewter instead of dungarees, and I'm using Grecian gold instead of mustard seed. I just, you know, had everything, I guess, in my stash. I don't know why. That was what I had kitted up and ready to go. Here's the colors and what they look like together. Let me move that frame. It's kind of distracting when you're trying to. So here's the aged pewter that I'm using instead. And that's for like the star right there. And then I'm using Grecian gold instead of mustard seed for the bee scap itself. And this is Grecian gold right here for the bee scap. And so I'm sure I'll be stitching other things in this book too. I mean, obviously I loved it so much that I bought it 2 times and, you know, maybe 3, who knows. But anyway, of course, it's Blackbird. And so that brings me to a couple of reasons while I'm happy to be, you know, that I found it and stitched it, because I wanted to participate in Jeanette and Heather's Strawberry Social stitch along that they're having. And so of course this has strawberries in it. So I've been stitching several things with strawberries, but I think that'll be worth it. Now, Jeanette and Heather are on Crafty Cottage Stitches on their Flosstube. I love their Flosstube. They're mother and daughter, and wouldn't it be fun to be their neighbor too? Because I have a feeling that if they lived in my neighborhood, that we would be gardening and quilting and cross-stitching together as well. Now, I keep this in my flea market bag, again, like I said, and oh, here's my notes. This is why I keep notes. Okay, so another reason I wanted to start this now is because it's Blackbird, and of course my friends Brenda and Laura, Brenda Sampler Stitcher and Laura Serial Starter, they are starting in May the Blackbird Weekend SAL Stitch Along. And so what they're doing is the first weekend of every month, they're inviting everyone to stitch Blackbird, anything Blackbird, and then just hashtag it so that we can get on Instagram and look at everybody's Blackbird stitches. And so this will be one thing that I'll be stitching for that. And I'll show you a couple of other things that I'll be continuing on. Now remember, I showed you this in my last Flosstube. This book right here, Sweet Land of Liberty. I had made the pillow for that. And, you know, it has strawberries in it too. But I had made the pillow for that, and there's other projects, and especially the cover one here, the eagle one that I want to stitch. So I'll probably be stitching that with Brenda and Laura. Another Blackbird thing that I already have going is, and I know I showed you this when Christy was here and we did the Flosstube a couple months ago, the Garden Club series. And I already have a start on this, but I have everything ready to go. And this is, there's 12 in here, and I had gone through already in that Flosstube and showed you all of them. So I'll be doing these. That's what I'll be working on with Brenda and Laura. And I'm not sure how long that's going to go on. If it goes on forever, I'll just keep stitching forever. Maybe it'll go on for my 400 years life expectancy, right? Okay, so I want to talk to you about my bee wall, which is where this is going to go. It's going to go on my bee wall. So that's why I lost it, because I had collected some charts and I had them all together in my middle drawer and forgot that they were there, because as I pulled out the charts that I wanted to put on my bee wall, as I pulled them out, I would, you know, kit them up and put them in a bag. For some reason, this was left in there, kitted up. I had not put it in a bag, so I must have been waiting for the perfect bag. So I remedied that situation by, remember the tomato bag that Christy made for me. So all my tomato charts are in here, or my garden tomatoes or my sowing tomato related charts are in this bag that she made for me. So here's my new bag that I'm going to be putting all of my, I know this is a big bag, I have to keep sliding it, that I'm going to be putting in and out. So speaking of my tomato bag, remember I showed you these before? Before I show you these, I wanted to show you my little strawberries that I collect too, when we were talking about Jeanette and Heather's Strawberry Social. But look at these little strawberry emeries. So now these are just individual. Maybe some of them may have come off of a tomato. If they come off of a tomato, I would just throw them in here in my bowl. But these are just emeries that are very old, vintage. Look at that one with beads. And you used to could make these or buy these separately, and they're all filled with, you know, like emery sand, sawdust, so that you would put your needles in here, keep your pins and needles in here to sharpen them. Let me grab some water. Okay, excuse me. So I've just left all these vintage needles and pins. Boy, we've sure come a long way with what we can do, right? With our notions, and I'm so grateful. My grandma, you know, she was just like amazed at all of the notions that we had available to us now, and how much easier we have made quilting. Look at that with the velvet ribbon. These all have, you know, good weight to them because they're filled with sand. But look at this. This is one of my favorite. This is, you know, a lot of these are velvet. These are all velvet. And this is like a pin. Like, I would wear that pin. Maybe I'll wear this to my next stitch along, right? Anyway, I just wanted to show you those while I was, almost forgot when I was talking about strawberries, because I feel like I'm so all over the place, this Flosstube. I hope you bear with me, but I saw those before I started talking about this new bag that I got, and I thought if I don't talk about them then, I'll probably forget. So, all right. My friend Annette has come through once again, and look, she's made me another bag with one of my 12-inch quilt blocks. This is from my Farm Girl Vintage 2 book, and this is what I'm keeping all my bee stuff in right now, because, you know, it has to do with the garden. And so bees are in the garden. So, but look at the back. Yes, she did. Okay, can you see that if I put that there? She did 1/1 stitching for me again. Isn't she amazing? And then she did 3 more blocks. She used my cross stitch block again, because this is a cross stitch bag. And then my Happy Flowers block in the 6-inch size, and my Cheerful Tulips in the 6-inch size, and put in the back. But so this is where, with this collection of patterns, and then I've added a few, I'll show them to you, but she's added an addition to the middle, which was so fun. Now remember, I've shown you that she puts little hooks in here for the scissors and for my threads and things like that. But look, she took, so this is the 12-inch block, but I also have the directions for a 6-inch block in my book. So she took the flower off of here that was in the 6-inch block, which ends up being 3 inches tall, and she made a little pocket for my nifty needles. How fun is that? Annette, you're a genius. This is all made from my Farm Girl Vintage fabrics. It's all Farm Girl Vintage, and which is pretty fitting for a gardening and a bee bag, right? Okay, so I just wanted to show you what I have lined up in here. You know I have a Not Forgotten Farm in here. And this is Beekeeper. This one I even have kitted. I bought this at Shepherd's Bush and then I kitted it up. I even have my little thing in here that says Order Floss, which I apparently did. I don't know. But anyway, this is by Paulette Stewart, Plum Street Samplers, and this is lesson 3 in the Cereal Bowl collection. This says, The Daily Labors of the Bee Awake My Soul to Industry. Here's another one by Plum Street. Now, I love this. I love the whole thing, but I'm seriously thinking about, for a little square frame, just doing the bee skep in this garden urn with the flowers and a few more bees around it. I love that. So that's on my bee wall. Now, this is a new one, and by Artful Offerings. Look at that. I mean, that needs to go on my bee wall too, like right away. Excuse me. Here's one that I've had for a while that I want to put on there. This is Lucy Beam, Love in Stitches, the tea box. Tea and honey. I've had this one for so long. I don't know why I haven't started it. I love Kathy Barrick and I love the Bee Study. I love that. See, like it's like, here's the spine of the book. And that's how I look at it anyway, like the cover and then the back cover. And then I've had, I forgot this was in here. This I've had forever. But look, there's this on this cover that I've been wanting to do. So let me find it real quick. Let me move these over so when I'm perusing the pages of this, you can look at this darling bag. Look, she made me this bag and brought it over to me. And I hurried and put one of Cassidy's macrame pulls. Is that the right side or the wrong side?
Doesn't really matter.
And one of my tractor charms on there. Okay. I'm supposed to be looking through here so I can show you. I mean, I don't even know how old this magazine is, but it's pretty old. Okay, I can fold it back. This is called Sweet as Honey. It's designed by Doreen Jones. Look how cute that is. I want to do it really vintaged. Really vintaged up. Really vintagey. Maybe I'll use that spray after I stitch it. I can't remember what it's called now. Remember that spray I used? And it's by Primitive Gatherings. But you guys know what I'm talking about. The antique spray. I think that's what it's called. So that's what's in my bee bag. And I'm sure I have way more bee patterns that need to go in there. But that was what was in the bag altogether with my chart that I lost. And it was just in a regular baggie in my center drawer. So now I have that good and organized. Okay. I'm talking a lot, so I need to swig my water bottle. Okay, so let's talk about my red sampler. That's what I'm going to end with. So here's the progress that I've made. Okay, I got to move something out of the way here. That's so heavy. All right, here's the progress I've made so far on my red sampler. And when I say so far, I'm almost finished. Now this is Red Rhapsody, and I showed this to you, and I talked to you about how I always have a red sampler going, and before I stitch anything, I'll do at least one thread. Sometimes two, but most of the time, you know, I don't know. Most of the time I do at least one, but most of the time I'm trying to get, you know, to my main stitch for the evening. And so I know if I don't do it beforehand that I won't stitch on it. So I do it first. And it's surprising how much you can get finished that way. So when I got down to this point, I kind of decided, even though I love these, I mean, I really do, I kind of decided that it needed something to finish it off here, like a border. And I think what really swayed me is because I bought this book when it came out. This is the Ultimate Sampler motifs source book by Brenta Keys, and I can't really show you anything in here because they're all, you know, just charts and not photographs, but man, does it have a lot of motifs in here. And of course I knew that it had flowers and flower borders, and I've been dying to take something out of here and kind of adapt it into another, you know, piece that I've been working on or going to work on. And for some reason this just popped into my mind. I'm going to tell you what page this border is, but this border is from that. Now I had to adapt the border a little bit because I was only using one color. So I kind of had to simplify it a little bit, but it's on page 23 in this book. And I thought it would be so pretty. Look at that border. So as you know, I start here on the right. And so I'm just moving my way here. I'm almost finished. And then I'm going to have it finished up. I am using this silk right here, Kringle's Coat, and from Silken Colors. I love this silk. It's got just a little bit of variegation in it. And I'm using flax. I love flax and burl linen. It looks so good with red. Everything looks good on that. So I use this quite a bit with my little red samplers. But I was getting anxious to get this finished because I have so many red samplers that I want to work on. Now remember, I showed you this, my big dotty bag. Oh, it just keeps getting heavier and heavier. I can't even hardly lift it anymore. And this is what I keep my red sampler stuff in. Now, Christy brought me this bag a couple of months ago when she came, and so this is what I keep my red threads in. And I just like to put a bunch in here, you know, ready to go for when I choose things that I want to do. And I've added some new patterns in here. I can't remember what I showed you and what I haven't, so maybe I'll just go through and show you real quick what I've got. But I have all different kinds and different colors of different silks, overdyes, and look what these came from Hobby Lobby quite a while ago. This is my favorite 347 red. I don't even have to write on here. I could spot this 347 a mile away, but look how cute they are on this dog and cat. And I love working with the silks and all of that stuff for samplers, but sometimes, you know, you just can't beat DMC. I love DMC. And so I keep those in my little thread bag so I can keep that handy. This, I haven't worked on that yet, but that's the ticking stripe. Okay, so I'm pretty confident that I know what I'm going to do next. So I'll just go through these real quick and show you. I can't remember what I've showed you. So some of these may be newer, some of these may be older, but I know I've been adding to them. That one's a strong contender. This one's a strong contender, even though it has some blue in it, but I put it in here because, you know, it's mostly red. And why not? There's that one. This, Brown Bunny. It's called Brown Bunny, but why couldn't I change it to Red Bunny, right? Wouldn't that be fun? I think I've showed you that one before. I showed you that one too. Showed you that one too. This one isn't in red, but I know it will look awesome in red. This is the one I'm going to do, but I'm going to show you that next. I've, you know, got some more freebies, and I don't know. Are these, can you see these cats? Yeah. I mean, like, so many from Jacob, from Modern Folk Embroidery that I could be doing. Love that one. I know I showed you that one before too. Can't remember if I showed you that one or not, but this is the 2020 patchwork sampler from Modern Folk Embroidery. That one, I know I showed you that one, and I think I've already got some flax in there, but I can take that out and use it for something else. There's another one from Jacob. I really love his work. So there's one, the 6 red alphabets. This is in blue, would be awesome in red. This one, I mean, when I look at it, everything's a strong contender. How do you know? But I've decided there's a couple of reasons that I've decided this is going to be my next one. Let me set this over here. Hang on. Okay, so I've had this book, and I showed you this before. Let me put that in so you can see it. Can you see that whole block, or do I need to move it around? That's great. Okay. So I showed this to you before, and this old schoolhouse that I went to, a 3-room schoolhouse in elementary in Harriman in the old town, and that's the same schoolhouse that my mother went to, my grandmother, and her mother. And I really want to do this in red. And so I decided that this is going to be my next one. And just because I have schoolhouse on my mind, because, you know, I'm doing the schoolhouse samplers, and Christy showed this, and she had asked me if she could show it and tell everybody that I was going to do a tutorial on how to make this block. This is my block design that I did to celebrate the my spelling bee book when it came out. So this is a free block that I put on my blog, and I showed you how to do it on my blog. And I said to Christy, yeah, that would be great, because this is perfect. She wanted to put it on a project bag. Don't you think it needs to go on a project bag? I do. And then we can put all our schoolgirl samplers in there, right, in the bag. So this is actually the original block that I made then on my blog, and I never did anything with it. I just kept it as a block to show. And so it's done with my fabrics. This is my penmanship fabric. I needed to put that in there because it's, you know, school. But I told Christy, yes, I will be doing that on my blog. So even though I did a tutorial, I mean, on my YouTube channel, even though I did a tutorial on my blog, I will do this next month. I will show you how to make this if you want to. This is the 12-inch size. And then at the time, I also made it in browns, like the little brown schoolhouse. And this is my 6-inch size. And so that will be coming up. And so I have that on my mind. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. So that's going to be, as soon as I finish this border sampler, which, not border sampler, this border on the bottom of my red sampler, which I'm sure will be tonight or tomorrow. I just have to finish those flowers, then I'll get started on the schoolhouse in this book. So to finish off, I just wanted to show you that because, you know, I love red samplers. We all know I love red samplers, and I'm a quilter. So this week I introduced my new quilt along on my blog. Here's 2 of the blocks right here. I don't know, should I stack them on top of each other? Because I don't think you can see both of them. You can see both. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so these are 6-inch blocks, and this is a 12-inch block. These are from my books. So the premise of this is I love making red and white quilts, and so, you know, I usually make one every couple of years, and I just figured out it's time because of the red sampler thing I'm doing with cross stitch. I'm calling this the Red Sampler Quilt Along, because a sampler quilt, I don't know if you know this, if you're not a quilter, a sampler quilt is a quilt when every block is different. So that's why it's called a sampler quilt. So I have, as I've told you before, I have 6-inch and 12-inch blocks in my books. And so I'm just grabbing my books, I'm grabbing my red fabric stash, and I'm just making either 6 or 12-inch blocks and using the setting in my Farm Girl Vintage 2 book to make the quilts. If you're interested, if you're a quilter and you want to join us, then I will put the link to my blog post. It started this past Monday. I blogged about it, and there's all the information on that, and this is really going to be fun. I'm going to have a good time making 12 and 6-inch red blocks out of my scraps, and so I invite you to join me for that too. And I'm sure I'll be talking about it here on my channel, I don't know, in a couple weeks or 3 weeks, and showing more of my block progress. But okay, I told myself I was not going to apologize for this being a long video, so I'm not going to apologize, or should I just say sorry, not sorry? Because I happen to like long videos, but I'm just not sure. Sometimes I think I just ramble on too much. But I hope you have enjoyed today's episode, And I've sure had a good time showing you, you know, a few more of my collections, a little bit more into my stitching projects and what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep continuing on. I hope that you're all having the best spring ever. I'm so excited for spring. I mean, one day here in Utah it snows, and then you need to turn your air conditioner on. You know, that's typical spring weather. But in about 6 weeks, it's full on time to be planting the garden and things like that. So I'll be stitching lots of things garden while I'm gardening, still quilting and all that stuff. I wish you the best, and I will chat with you later.